DJ Playboy.
What's good, y'all? It's your man DJ Playboy back with another episode of the Perfect Talk Podcast. And real talk, man, I don't like doing no episode without my dog, my man, my
girl
partner.
Scream like I'm KEEF.
What's good, brethren?
Yes. Channeling my inner Marvin Albert. What it is, people.
Shout out to Marv, right? Yo, Marv is retired. You know, this used to be his time of year.
Yeah.
He retired.
Yeah,
right?
man. Imagine, man, like, I don't know, like 50, 60 years, you just hear this dude's voice. Yes.
He's the original bounce back from cancellation.
Word.
No, not the original, but in my just say.
No, he is.
Because he did well with that was weird. That was weird for that time. You know, he got in trouble for. But it wasn't like bad. It was just like embarrassing, right? But there would be no Jeffrey Toobin if there was no Marv Albert. You know what I mean? Like
he paved
showed
the
him
way.
how to do it. Yeah.
Well, his joint, I think it was just embarrassing, but when you look back at it, it wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't Me Too bad, but I think for the time, somebody of his stature, it was like, wow, like, what was it? Like, he was having consensual sex, but he was biting people on the back. Or something like that.
I think it was definitely like, it didn't fit his personality because he was kind of like, you know, the consummate broadcaster of he's professional all the time. So it didn't quite match. And he's small. So something about you having, I guess, weird, dominant sex is at the time was like, oh yeah, well let's point at it. But this is pre-sex tape, celebrity sex tapes, and you know what I'm saying, like the internet, right? I believe it was pre-internet, or at least the rise of the internet. So it was different times.
Yeah, it was pre all of that stuff you just mentioned, and post Tupac and Mike Tyson. So it was like we didn't have the different grades of it. It was either just missionary or it was rape. Like, we didn't, from our public figures, we didn't understand anything in between.
That's funny you say that, because if you ended up on the front page of the Daily News, you was all the same. You was Anthony Weiner, you was Tupac, you was fucking Mike Tyson, you was Marv Albert. As long as you ended up on that front page, you was in that category. Elliot Spitzer, you was, you know what I'm saying, all of that. And it's I was telling my shorty that the other day, she had to do jury duty, and she was, wanted to get out of it, and she was like, I guess the case they presented her, she's like, this motherfucker's guilty. He's a pedophile. It's a mad people counts against him, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, that's all they got to do is hit you with the accusation, and it's done. Like, they hit you, once you get the accusation, you're guilty till proven innocent.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned Mike Tyson, man. Your man Mike back in the news, man. You seen that video of him on the plane?
Yo, man, my man Mike. You know what's funny about Mike, just looking at him through the years, we got to see him grow, like him work on himself. He built his family and stuff like that. Let me tell you how good his rehabilitation, not just like his PR, public, his image rehabilitation, but him just personally, as far as, like, he's just a cool guy now doing goofy comedies like Hangover and all that. The Me Too crew didn't even touch, like, you didn't hear them say anything about him. This dude was convicted of rape. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when's the last time you've heard about that? I mean, at least I haven't. You know what I'm saying?
Remember that interview where he blacked out on the dude? Because he brought it up, I think, in the interview. That was a minute ago. That was the last time I heard about that. And that's only because Mike made it an issue. But that's only because Mike made it an issue. Because I think he was promoting his one-man show, and the dude brought it up. He's like, why would you bring that up? You know what I mean? But
yeah.
But even that was kind of like, it wasn't necessary for the interview, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like a way to get headlines, a way to get clickbait. But no, my fault, I cut you off. Go ahead, say what you were saying.
No, I was just saying, so like you saw him, like he's just a calm dude now. Mm-hmm. You know, he got the whole podcast, he's smoking all during the podcast. But Mike Tyson, like his inner Mike Tyson said, yo, man, please, you haven't let me out in a while. Just give me 2 minutes with this brother. Mike said, cool. Mike said, all right, man, you do your thing, because I don't know how to handle this. And then old Mike squashed it. Dude was antagonizing him, and then he just stopped. And then Mike sat down. And to my knowledge, there's no charges or nothing. I mean,
the dude,
I'm of a certain age.
The dude wasn't cooperating with police, they said, when he got here. I don't know how much of a case he would have had, because there's reports that he threw a bottle at Mike before Mike reacted like that, like a water bottle. but he wasn't. From what they say, they only identified him as George, and they said he is not cooperating with police. They both were detained. The plane got off, so I guess because he's a social media personality. I wouldn't say star or whatever, but they were doing something for social media, him and his homeboy, and I believe because of I don't know if his homeboy was posting it while they were in the air or whatever, but I'm assuming because of all the video, he probably just figured like, I don't really have much of a leg to stand on here.
Yeah,
and
it's interesting though.
And he was look drunk.
How they posted, yeah, exactly, and how they posted that stuff. It's kind of, it doesn't. I don't know if I don't want to say it incriminates them, but it doesn't make them look good. But I guess to their followers, it was fun and it looks good. So I
That's
guess
how
maybe
stupid they are, bro. That's how stupid social media makes you, man. Like, you could have had a case if you just edited out the first part where your man was acting like a dick. Like, why would you even show that part? Like, I would literally, all I would have is around the internet is Mike Tyson stuffing my man. Like, all right. The views, they wouldn't, you know what I mean? So, it's a weird place where we at. I don't even think that was Wild Mike. I think that was normal Mike, right? Like, people antagonize people all the time on public transportation and you know what I mean, means of transport. So it's like, I don't, you know what I mean? People have the, what do they call it, the breaking point. People have a temper, and it's like, yo, the dynamite reached the end of the stick, like it's about to blow, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's the reaction you get when you mess with the wrong person. I think
especially Mike Tyson.
Word up. The biggest thing it shows me, and not that Mike Tyson is still considered a professional boxer, but I feel like you ever have like something that you heard as a little kid and you believe like your hands are registered as lethal weapons. It shows a lot of the topics of this week, man. If you got the money to fight it, you know what I'm saying, you could do it, because there was a man, right? He sued his former employer over a birthday party and actually won $450,000. Well, the settlement was to that amount, and it was all because they threw him a birthday party that he was not interested in. And he specified to them, celebrate this party. I don't want it because it will trigger panic attacks within me and bad memories. This part I don't know how true it is, but I heard he said something like it triggers memories from my childhood of my parents' divorce. So I prefer not to celebrate. Now, I worked in offices, right? And I know I get the vibe in offices. I've worked in a few offices. People don't want to work in offices. Like, you know what I mean? You like having a job in an office, but when you come there, you want to do the minimum amount of work. You know what I'm saying? And it feels to me like this company used the excuse of people's birthday parties to be like, yo, we taking break off from work to eat cake and, you know what I mean? Like on some The Office shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all gonna celebrate his person's birthday. And he was like, and then I also get the vibe that he might not be the most popular person in the office. And I think when he told them that he is not interested in doing it, they were like, yeah, but now you take away us being able to, have a break, right? Have a little celebration in our day, have a party. And they decided to throw it anyway. He had a panic attack during it. Was then chastised for stealing his co-worker's joy and was told he was being a little girl. Now the thing is, I don't know the details of his panic attack, but I get the feeling it wasn't like he went to the corner and was like in his own little space. I think he was wilding the fuck out, because they asked him to go to his car and take some time, calm down. They had a meeting about him and asked him to come into the office, which triggered another panic attack within him. I don't know what was said during these panic attacks, but he was eventually he was eventually fired. They fired him, and he decided to sue and was actually awarded $300,000 for emotional distress and $150,000 in lost wages. Kevin Burling, and the people he sued was Gravity Diagnostics. But like, to me, I was surprised. I'm like, he got $450,000. You know what I think fucked him up? They called him a little girl and told him that he was stealing their joy. Like, what did that? You know what I mean? Had they not said that, I'd be like, yo, my man caught a lick.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird story. However, though, nowadays with like diversity and inclusion in the workplace, there's a lot more that I think employers have to pay attention to as far as what makes people feel good or doesn't feel good or whatever it is. So I think this is going to be a lesson for employers. When a motherfucker say don't celebrate my birthday, you take that dude seriously and find another reason to celebrate.
Right? That's the dude you be like, yo, don't fuck with him. Nigga said don't celebrate his birthday. There might be a religious reason around that, you know what I mean? Like something bigger than us.
But they fired him though, so I could see why he litigated. He's like, yo, man, I told these motherfuckers do not celebrate my birthday, and you know, a panic attack is medical in nature, so it's like firing someone because they got sick or something, like they have a chronic sickness and it maybe flared up. And they say, oh, I got to fire you because you flared up at work or whatever, right? So a panic attack is in the same vein, at least as far as work is concerned. It's like, yo, this is a condition.
What defines
y'all have to make.
That's the thing, right? What defines a panic attack? That's what I'm lost on. Maybe I don't understand the definition of it. But if a nigga start wilding out, I don't know if I call that a panic attack. Like, he's threatening us, and he's saying, like, I think he used the term panic attack, which he knew was what do they call it? A trigger word, right? Like, because people would have a certain sensitivity to it. But I think he was in there just wilding. And he was like, because the company's founder and chief operating officer said in an email statement, with the ever-increasing incidence of workplace violence, this verdict sets a very dangerous precedence for employers and most importantly employees that unless physical violence actually occurs, workplace violence is acceptable. Because I guess their argument was like, yo, we fired him before he hurt somebody. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when I heard the term panic attack, I'm thinking like, cause last summer, like I almost had like a near death incident. So there was a couple weeks after that where like I literally had shortness of breath. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to like go outside to get like fresh air. I don't know if that's necessarily defined as panic attacks. I've talked to my therapist about it, and you know she seems to agree. But I would take that as like, you know, panic attack. Yo, this is like a little bit nerve wracking for me. I gotta kind of remove myself from it. I get the feeling he was in there like throwing chairs over, knocking over tables, like, yo, I will kill all y'all niggas. Yo, why y'all not listening? Why y'all not paying me attention?
Oh, I didn't know that part. I thought he was just like,
they don't say the details of what he did, but for them to keep mentioning workplace violence and then the fact that they fired him. Now, I do believe they antagonized him. Why would you tell him he's being a little girl? Like, why would you talk to him like that? Like, I'm not saying violence is the answer, but I could see how that would provoke a person.
Maybe it's his coworkers like egging him on that probably gave him a leg to stand on with his case. Because I mean, if it is the case that he was just wilding, like people like when a dude is mad at work, like, you know, they might just start wilding.
Yeah,
I think the judge or the jury or whoever might have seen it that way. But when people say, "Oh, you're a little girl," and the fact that he asked for them not to celebrate his birthday, I'm sure you know. That gave him lots of legs to stand on.
Yeah, and I just don't. I get the vibe too. He's not the most popular person in the office, right? Because I feel like if you was really liked in the office and you pulled them aside and was like, "Yo, my birthday's super sensitive, da for me," you know what I mean? Like, I get it. This is the culture here, but they're like, "Yeah, all right, we get it, Marie." You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna do that. We actually, it was the crazy part. They could have just had a party. Like niggas could have just made an excuse to have a party, and you know what I'm saying? There's no like legal precedent they had to do it on his birthday. They could have did it like the day before. They could have did it the day after, like, yo, we hit our numbers, anything, right? So I don't know. There's been some weird lawsuits in the news this week. But something, and I don't know because you travel a lot more than I do, but the mask mandate ended on airplanes this week. Kind of, right? I think a lot of people got like a question mark, like, is it cool? But I don't know. Did you see those videos where they announced it like mid-flight? They told people that they could literally mid-flight to remove their mask. And there was one video where a pilot announced it over the loudspeaker. There was another one where a singing flight attendant was walking down the aisles with a garbage bag telling people they can toss their mask away. Which, you know, is kind of cool, right? And that is the whole, I think COVID in general was one of those things where it's hard to see things from the other side because, like, yeah, everybody's like, yeah, cool, no mask, comfortable, my face ain't all dry no more. And then I seen this one thing where this lady was like actually tight about that, like, yo, I'm on the plane with my unvaccinated kids. How you just gonna tell all these people take their mask off? And I didn't really think about it from that side. I'm like, oh yeah, shit. I guess they could have waited till they. But there's always gonna be a flight in the air, right? When something's announced, like I don't. So if anything regarding something like that, I believe, they're not gonna wait till you land to tell you, or you got access to news,
Right.
you got access to internet. So you know what I'm saying? Like it's not. I don't know. I don't think the flight's attendants and the flight pilots were wrong for doing it. I think they were kind of excited themselves.
Yeah. So I flew to Texas. Let me see, maybe like 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was interesting because they give at the beginning of the flight, and this is before all this no mask and stuff with the court and all that. They give the instructions, flight attendant this, and if in a case of emergency, all this stuff, and the CDC or whoever requires you, I think the FAA requires you to wear a mask, federal mandate, hopefully that's ending soon. That's what I hear. But, for now, you got to do it. So the pilot saying that gave me the sense that they don't like that shit. For them to say it in that forum and in that way, like, hopefully it ends soon, but, it is what it is right now. I get the sense that the airline industry might just be over it, largely because a lot of the passengers are over it. I mean, motherfuckers is fighting.
Like, what do you mean?
You know what I'm saying?
Like, oh, you talking about Mike Tyson? Oh.
No. The passenger, like you see the videos of passengers fighting flight attendants because the flight attendants
telling them
are calling them out.
Yeah, put their mask back on.
Like, hey, you got to wear a mask.
Got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they're just doing their job. So they're probably like, yo, man, I can't. We just can't. You know what I'm saying? Pilots, flight attendants. I mean, flight attendants are on the front line of this thing, but the pilot feels it too. Like if there's violence happening in the cabin, it's like, yo, man, like they got to fly the plane, but it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. So it reminds me of the vaccine mandates in New York City. A lot of restaurants are frustrated. Yes, because it decreases business when, unvaccinated people may want to come to the restaurant, or there may be a whole crew and one person's unvaccinated and the whole crew says, nah, we can't go there because, this Charles didn't want to vaccinate. But they were also tired of having to police that kind of thing. And I get the sense that the airline industry was frustrated too. It would be cool if people could just come and everyone wore their mask. They probably wouldn't care, but the fact that they have to oversee that kind of thing, that makes it tough.
Yeah, it's like restaurants, right? Like, yo, yeah, that's like you said, you got to come in this restaurant. This lady's a hostess. She's got to tell you, wonder if you're vaccinated or not. Like, it's not, that's not her job, you know what I'm saying? And now you're putting unnecessary stress on her.
Exactly. And the next thing was that when I was on the flight, there was a large portion of the time where people just weren't wearing masks for different reasons, mostly because you were eating and you just didn't put it back on. And but the thing is, I don't think it was like a big thing.
Yeah,
like, it was just kind of like, oh, I don't know.
No, it's and really, I think that there are people who still choose to wear it, but now it's like, if no one else is wearing it and I'm wearing it, which you like, am I still protected? Like, no one knows, right? I don't think we have a definite answer on that, right? Because I was under protection. You wear your mask to protect other people from you, kind of. So I saw a question mark. And then now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Department of Justice is trying to appeal that, right? That ruling, because this ruling came down from a federal judge in Florida earlier this week. But it looks like there's going to be some pushback on it, possible appeal. I mean, I don't necessarily foresee it coming back unless there's a huge spike in some weird variant that pops up, or, you know what I mean? Something like that. But I think once you let something go, it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, I think the government was ready to kind of loosen up on mask mandates anyway. I suspect that they're appealing this for any future decisions that they may have to make. Like if this happens, then in the future, if it really makes sense to do another mask mandate, that they wouldn't be able to do it because the law kind of took that power away. Mm-hmm. I could see a situation if where the Department of Justice wins the appeal. If I don't know the law enough to know whether or not they have a good chance of winning, but let's say they win and they say, oh well, yeah, you could do a mask mandate. I think they would I think they would cancel the mask mandate anyway, like probably a week or two later or something like that.
Yeah, it seems like it's just dick swinging, like just to like, yo, this we said this, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a pissing contest because it was actually it was extended till May 3rd. So I mean, they were gonna rule if they were gonna push it from further than May 3rd at some point anyway. So it just seems like, yo, I mean, y'all, come on, all right, either we getting rid of it or we not. But now y'all just causing mad confusion. You got people out here like wondering what the hell to do. So it's like I don't know. Y'all gotta get y'all shit together because it's nervous out here. But I mean, life after mask though, I'm loving it. I'm not gonna lie, I am liking it, bro. It's cool. Like masks were expensive, like you know what I'm saying. I mean, I know they at the end there was offering free masks and shit like that, but for the most part, like I had to keep up with masks. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't always like going someplace. Now, luckily, I worked places that gave away a lot of well, I shouldn't say gave away, but had a lot of masks available for the taking. But you know what I'm saying? But I know that shit hit people's pockets. Like, yeah, man. Yeah, so I'm glad mask is done. Hopefully we don't gotta go back, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully these boosters, they can figure out whatever schedule we gotta stay with these boosters, or I don't know if we reach herd immunity or whatever the case may be. But I'm loving life after mask, so please don't bring that one back, man. But there's like I said, there's been some weird court cases this week, Keith, and I want to know, you got an iPhone, I got an iPhone. Do we got a case, man? Because a Brazilian judge ordered Apple to compensate an iPhone buyer with a sum of $1,080 after a complaint was filed against the company's policy for not supplying a charger in the retail package of its phones. So, like, when we bought an iPhone, right, it just came with that cord in the phone, right? Unless, did yours didn't come with a box, right?
I don't think so. I can't even remember. It was so long ago, but I don't think mine came with the box.
The charger box.
Power box.
Yeah. So I'm like, so if I'm reading it correctly from what I understand, the iPhone 12 came out and Apple argued that removing the charger would reduce the environmental burden contributed by e-waste, with the assumption that most smartphone users have a charger lying around. So they're saying like you previously had one anyway that could fit. The decision wasn't liked by smartphone buyers, but it's Apple, so what we gonna do? But right now, you know what I'm saying, your man, which I don't even know, like, if $1,000 after legal fees, I don't even know how much he's keeping from that, but I think it was more so for the principle of it. That hopefully, this might become a class action case, but it is kind of funny, right? I mean, and I guess they might have a leg to stand on by saying the environmental, because we do have a lot of environmental e-waste. Like, what do you do with AirPods after they don't work anymore? There's no, you toss that shit, right? What do we do with, most people, I don't know what people do with their old phones. I trade my old phones in, but I don't know, some people might hold on to them and then eventually after a couple of years be like, I'm tossing this. So I have heard that there is a considerate amount of e-waste that we're making as technology is advancing. But I ain't gonna front, like I ain't feel some type of way when I popped that box open. I was like, hold on, I think AT&T gave me a deal. Now I'm talking about it. Like when I bought it, I think homie told me before I even opened it, he was like, yeah, there's no da-da-da, but we're offering like 50% off of accessories because of some deal. So I think I ended up having to pay, but it was worked I didn't have to pay much for the box, but still it's kind of, I had to pay something. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's a weird assumption, because what if you just switched over? Like, what if you might be your first smartphone? You know what I mean? You can't just assume that the user doesn't have it. So I don't know. You think it's gonna change something in the technology game?
Hell no. I feel as if firstly it's a Brazilian court. Like I think Apple be like, all right, we take the L on that one. Maybe in Brazil we put a warning on the box. This shit doesn't have the little charging box, so buyer beware or something like that.
It's the BBL of lawsuits.
Yeah, because Apple is going towards the direction of having just less stuff in their boxes. So, you see that movement to the USB-C thing. So instead of having the regular big USB joint, they have the little USB-C. They got rid of the headphone jack and all this shit. And I heard a rumor. It was just a rumor, like on a random blog or something. But like they would consider getting rid of the charging port, like the hole or whatever.
To make it all wireless,
straight up cordless. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think this changes nothing. I think this is like a court case on the level of like Judge Steve Harvey, Judge Judy type shit. Something like you show up and be like, yo, man, these niggas didn't have a box. All right. Basically, the court decision was a refund, but instead of getting a refund, you get the money of the price of an iPhone, and a third of that goes to your lawyers. So really, now you have to go back and buy some like a Motorola Razr or some shit.
Nah, it's not gonna change anything. They said Apple's not even planning on changing anything in that country alone. You know what I'm saying? So they definitely ain't doing it. They saved billions by removing the charges from the retail box. So yeah, well, like I said, you ain't putting that toothpaste back in there. You know what I mean? It ain't happening. But it's interesting though, because I've had Apple phones for the past few years. So when you get like you've had a Google phone, you jumped around with a few brands. They all come with the charger box.
Well, I've only had a Google. I think I had a Samsung also. Yeah, they all came with the. I don't know if the Samsung came with the box, but I had a Google and that came with the box.
Yes, it's real indie screech, man. But we getting a little tight on time. So Keith, we're gonna switch it up to a little bit of Have You Heard?
Keep connected.
I got a question. Now the question I ask you is how bad you want to know.
I just want to get your opinion on this, man. This isn't even like brand new, but as you Oklahoma recently, they're trying to outlaw abortion. Texas as well. They've done it previously, and a lot of people were traveling from Texas to Oklahoma to get it done. Florida as well. In 2022, man, I guess not even have you heard, but just how do you feel about where the abortion rights looks like is heading in this country?
So I won't speak to the actual how I feel about the policy. I'll speak to the importance of being of civic duty, like voting and all this type of stuff. Like the politically conservative, they did a masterful multi-decade quest, did a good job of putting all these political pieces together to make this kind of thing happen. So for years you've been hearing about the whole Roe v. Wade thing, and people on the other side of it, they just, it's a lot of protests and stuff like that. But like to put people in place to combat the move towards the abolition of or the effective abolition of reproductive rights, they weren't savvy enough. The liberal wing wasn't savvy enough at trying to put together the political pieces to keep reproductive rights in place. So what you're seeing here is honestly like a genius mastermind type shit that they're doing. So on the federal level, they can't or they won't abolish abortion rights or put any kind of limitations on it. But on the state level, they're carving away at it, like really like fucking Dr. Evil type moves. So for instance, I think in Texas, they don't straight up say, oh well, you can't run an abortion clinic or whatever. They'll do something like, or they did something like civilians can do a lawsuit against anyone who performs an abortion and against the doctor or something like that. Or if you knew somebody or the dad, or it's legal mumbo jumbo, but they said, all right, Texas, it's a wrap if you want an abortion. And then now Oklahoma, and like you said, they go to Oklahoma. Oklahoma's like, all right, don't come here. Florida's leading the way. Governor DeSantis probably going to run for president. He's leading the whole state conservative movement, and people's following his lead. So I would say vote if you don't like it. Vote, be local, be part of that shit. I know a lot of liberal folks are moving to Austin. Y'all motherfuckers should start a revolution and a political revolution. And that's that, man. This politics shit is very complex, but all you gotta do is just get involved.
Yeah, but it affects everyday shit. It affects our people more than anything, because the people who have the means can travel to a state where they can go get it. But people who do not have the means and do not have the travel and do not have the ability to take a week off from work and do not, you know what I mean? They can't, they're stuck. And you know what I mean? Something happened. The way that these laws are written, you get raped, you get a victim of incest, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no options for you. You know what I'm saying? There's no loophole in there for that. And it's, from what I understand, and I'm not gonna front like I'm the most up to date on everything, but within the next 2 months, I know the court is gonna decide on Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban, how, the legalities of that, and based off of what the Supreme Court decides on that can change literally everything Roe v. Wade has caused in this country. 23 states, which is almost half of the country, have laws on their books that would clamp down on abortion access. So it's nerve wracking, man. And I, like, you know, just because I'm not a woman doesn't mean I can't feel, you know what I'm saying, for what they're going through and how like fuck that is, man. Like it's it's not cool. And I guess, you know, I have a sister, I have, you know, a daughter, I have a mother. It's and I'm honestly not, I'm pro-choice, you know what I'm saying? I don't, but I necessarily don't, you know what I mean? I'm not a fan of abortion. I'm not crazy about, you know what I mean, what it is, but I'm also like, you're not going to tell me what I can do. I'm not going to tell you what you could do. You know what I'm saying? Type of thing. So it's just the fact, I don't know. And I think bigger than anything, just the fact to see that certain laws that I was born with, you know, are being taken away, and it might not affect me directly, but you know, you can't live by that. Well, it don't affect me. I ain't going to say nothing. Cause you know what I'm saying? When they came for the gypsies, nobody did nothing, and then they came for the Arabs, nobody did nothing, and then they came for the Jews, nobody did nothing, and then when they came for me, there was nobody else to speak up. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
you gotta speak up when shit look funny. Keith, have you heard Tennessee passes a bill requiring drunk drivers to pay child support if they kill a parent? Tennessee legislator passed a bill Wednesday that would require drunk drivers to pay child support if they kill a parent and are convicted of vehicular homicide due to intoxication. And I think that's pretty good. I guess if you get vehicular homicide or aggravated vehicular homicide due to intoxication, you'll pay the child support if any parent killed in that crash has any minor children. Payments will continue until each child reaches 18 years old and graduates from high school.
That's interesting. Well, firstly, shout out to the Harvard Law Review edition of Perfect Talk podcast. But this shit, wow, you know, that's interesting, man. Sometimes I admire them southern states. We were just talking about the abortion piece, but like southern states are good at making biblical punishments.
Okay.
And this is like but biblical punishments that keep up with the times. Like this is a very modern, high-tech way of, I don't know, just you don't want somebody to do something, so you make the punishment subtly severe. So maybe you can't lock them up for 30 years, but in effect, you're going to lock them up for 21 years. So that's interesting. But also the South has a way of these biblical punishments. Somehow they affect black people in a more profound way. So I wonder what that's gonna look like in real life. It sounds cool, like, man, you know, drunk people need to stop drunk driving. You kill somebody who got kids, you need to take care of them kids. But on the other hand, is the iron hammer of the law going to be applied equally across the land? I don't think so, because I'm just thinking about it. When you think about drunk driving, a lot of that shit, a lot of those cases get dismissed because you pay for a good lawyer and they tie the prosecutor up in paperwork. All right, let's you know, you plead you down to disorderly conduct or something like that, or you know, manslaughter or whatever. Like,
they're gonna be fighting that even harder now.
Right. So if you don't have money, you go with the public defender, and you need to check out that Mike Epps stand-up. He got a joint in there like, man, these damn public defenders. And he said they just got some young dude with a stack of papers and just show you the papers. Like, is that your name? Okay. You don't want that if you go into court for drunk for you know, a drunken, I guess a drunk vehicular manslaughter, whatever it is. So whatever drunk case you got, like
any case, actually. I remember when I found myself in some legal trouble, and I typically call Keith if I found myself in any like kind of trouble. And I told him what my game plan was in terms of public defense, and he said, "Nigga, don't do that." And if you really think about it, like the prosecutor, right, and the public defender, they have lunch in the same building. They work for they pretty much work for the same company. Like, what? He's not incentivized to win your case. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not. So it's like it's the whole system's fucked, right? You know what I mean? So you gotta. Why would you go that route? But yeah, no. I think this is good though, because drunk driving is so stupid, man. Like, we have Uber, we have Lyft, we got everything out here, bro. It makes no sense. I get mad if I hear my friends tell me anything slightly related to them drunk driving, not only because they hurt themselves and they would be gone for their families, but also they could have hurt somebody else. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think this is a great law. Nobody wants to pay child support, especially for some kids that ain't yours. You definitely don't want to pay that. My thing is, if you get locked up though, how are you really just back charging people, right? Because it's like we're you know what I mean, it's gonna be hard for you to get a job out of it. How it's not like you just go back to your life and now we just gonna hit your job. You know what I'm saying? You kill somebody's parents for driving drunk, you have to serve some time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's some biblical shit because it gets deep. Like you said, you might, even if it's 5 months, you're a felon. It's hard for you to get a job. So now you got to pay child support. And they probably won't do child support like a family court where it's a percentage. They might just say, hey, you know what? This dad, you killed him. He was making $150,000 a year. These kids need to, let's say 40% of that went to the kids. So you got to pay that. And he had 3 kids. You got to pay that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like it's some biblical shit. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I hope it's equitable as far as like across all offenders.
Nah,
I don't think it will be. But that's some biblical shit. That binds.
What's the term that they use? I think arrears. I think is what they call it.
When you owe shit from before.
That's anyone who paid child support, arrears ain't no word you want to hear. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if I understand correctly, that shit is adding up as you're serving your sentence time, right? So let's say you get 5 years, now you come out, you're already 5 years behind, and then everything from that point on. So you have to catch up to that to zero just to get right. You know what I'm saying? Or they lock you up again.
Right.
So yeah, no, there is some deeper shit to this actually. If you really, and by adding that child support aspect to it, it sounds really good. And like I said, it hasn't been put in the law yet, signed in the law yet, but it looks like it's heading that way. But it does sound really good in principle. But it's like it might be fucking some people over. Not that, and I guess it's not up to me to decide if it's deserving or not. But yeah, think about driving drunk. Let's make it. It's a good deterrent because it ain't nothing you want to go through.
Right.
Keith, have you heard DaBaby shot somebody?
Somebody else? Or the
somebody
I heard from Dave Chappelle when Dave Chappelle dry snitched on his stand-up. Did DaBaby shoot somebody else?
Yes. Someone broke onto DaBaby's compound and DaBaby lit him up. Could have killed him, but did not. Chose not to. But yeah, and then called the police.
That's
told
dope.
him told him about it, you know what I mean, had his legal weapon used for it, and said he told homeboy, go on and heal up, I mean, you got he said I spared someone's life today, go ahead and heal up, decided not to press charges.
Wow. All right, that's kind of a cool story. It's kind of a cool, like that's some movie shit right there.
Yeah. And I heard it was a white dude. I don't know how true that part is, but I heard it was a white dude. I gotta
so
get
let me get this straight. You believed every aspect of that story, but when you said it's a white dude, you said I don't know about that. I don't know about it being no white burglar. That's the part you don't believe.
No, I believe all of it. You know what I'm saying? I'll be honest with you. It make me want to go to one of them down south states where like guns is not frowned upon. Because I'm like, damn, you just lit a white dude up. Just went back home afterwards. I'm like, yo, they take their gun laws serious, bro. You broke on that man's property.
Word.
Nah, but I don't. I'm trying. But yeah, shot him in the leg, and then like you hear him on the 911 call. The dude that got shot. He's screaming in agony in the background. They're like, is he alive? Is he da da da? He's like, you hear him, don't you?
It sounded like he was collecting evidence. Like, listen, man, this dude is alive. Do you hear him? Say your name and birth date, my man.
He said, look, he said, I shot him in the leg. The lady said, okay, why'd you do that? He said, he's trespassing on my property. I don't know what he's here for, what he's here to take, what he's here to do. He's neutralized until you guys get here. The lady says, are you with them now? Yes, he's right here in front of me. He's bleeding. He's been shot. And then they said for the duration of the call, the suspect can be heard crying in pain.
Man. The baby's probably a certified paralegal, man. He probably knows. He said he's been neutralized. He's laying here. He's bleeding. He's lost. This is a paralegal and an EMT. He's like, yo, I'm not playing. Y'all ain't arresting me for shit. I was well within my rights.
But by the way he handled that Danny Lay situation when he had her arrested, I was like, baby done been through some shit. Baby definitely done been through some shit because he knows how to handle some situations the right way, man. So shout out to the baby, but stay out of trouble, dog. I don't like that. It's always violence. You know what I'm saying, around him. Luckily, he's not on the receiving end of a lot of it, but your luck runs out sometimes. So I'm hoping whatever element is attracting that around him, what I'm saying, he could get away from that and continue to be successful. I almost forgot this one, Keith. We almost got out of here because I think I've been avoiding this whole subject because I don't want us to get canceled. But I don't know how to tiptoe around every subject to be politically correct. So I mean, I don't know. But have you heard? 2 New Jersey inmates are impregnated after having sex with a transgender prisoner.
I did hear about that, and there's so much I don't know about it. So I'll be honest, there's so much I don't understand about it, and I think I'll admit to my own ignorance that 2 women, right? One of them transgender.
No. 2 actual. Nope. Sorry. See, we almost we got a tiptoe. 2 what's the word?
2 cis women.
Cis women. Cis. sister. 2 cis women. 1 transgender woman, born a man, now a woman. So that's the 3 parties involved. The transgender person still has their anatomy intact and was able to impregnate these 2 women. Have you seen the picture of the prison?
Wait, let me. No, I have not seen the pictures. So women's prison. 2 cisgender women and 1 transgender woman.
I just sent you the picture of
transgender woman,
the transgender inmate. When you get a chance, check that out.
Got it.
I'm like, come on, man. I can't put him in the women's chair.
Yeah, man.
That looked like one of them filters.
You know what?
Like,
I will say
like
this.
a good filter. It looked like they did one of the filters, but it didn't even come out good. Like the shit couldn't read his face properly. Because the nigga still looked like a dude.
Yeah. I'd say this. I think that it goes back to the diversity and inclusion thing. I think that the world is changing, and majority parties, like majority, when you're in the majority, with regard to diversity, it's hard to understand. It's hard to understand the plight of the minority, and it's hard to understand all the mechanics. And I think I'm in that position where I just do not understand the mechanics of the transgender experience. And I think that regulators and legislators don't fully understand it also. So now when you look at something like this, I think one of the questions they must be asking is like, how do we get a grasp of the definitions and the healthcare aspect and the mental health aspect and the societal aspect because I know I have to. I imagine that the administrators, the higher ups at the prison, probably all the way up to the governor, have to be. Was it a public prison? Do you know, or was it one of them private ones?
It's in New Jersey. That's all I know.
Like the
New Jersey prison, and I'm trying to see.
So the higher ups have to be like, how do you? Because it's a big thing when people put transgender women in a man's prison. Like there are cases of injustices, but I'm sure legislators have to draw a line somewhere, right? But where does that line belong in a case like this? That in a thing that we just don't understand that well. And I think that as a society we're grappling with that. So now you're talking about a woman getting pregnant in jail. Oh, it's by one of the prison guards? No, it's by another inmate. All right, like it's hard to wrap my brain around that. And I have to admit that there's some ignorance on my part. And I'm still grappling with my own ignorance, trying to wrap my hands around all these around this fact pattern. So I'd say that about this case.
All right. And I think I think we just don't know, right? Because we what's the Leah Thomas? I might be messing her name up. What was the the swimmer?
That's a swimmer. I don't remember her name. I know the first name's Leah.
But even there was controversy with for you guys who don't know, Yale. Does she go to Yale, Keith? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
She was he was a swimmer. Then he what's the word? Transitioned into a female swimmer and was just dominating, right? Or dominated at least one event that I know of. But from what I get, just dominating. Leaps and bounds, and there was people that we wondered about the fairness of that. I think the NCAA does something based on your testosterone levels, if you apply or eligible. But it was like, yo, you were kind of mediocre as a male swimmer, and now you're dominating as a female swimmer. What's the fairness in that? And then there's that one funny picture where you see them in place in first, second, and third, and the girl in third place looks really pissed off that she lost. And it's just like, yo, it's controversial. But I think the real thing is, I understand the question mark over it, but you kind of gotta, and I get it. Yeah, everyone's confused and no one knows the right answer. But it's possible that these women that were impregnated non-consensually. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are saying it's consensual, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is. You know what I'm saying? Because it's prison rules. You know what I'm saying? So they don't want to necessarily snitch. They're still locked up. It's not like they're getting out because they got impregnated. So it's like, it's possible that this could have been non-consensual, and now you put these women in a very unsafe situation.
Oh, you're saying they may have been raped?
Yeah. It's possible. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm just saying it's possible that this wasn't, consensual. That, you know what I mean? Like, just because they might not want to receive backlash for snitching on this person. I don't know what this person's status is I don't know. The whole thing is just question marks. But I think the possibility is there that this could have been forceful.
There's evidence of that. and so, because you mentioned Leah Thomas, so you said that you're saying that the tie to Leah Thomas, you're saying that this transgender woman, the inmate, was a mediocre male inmate, and then after transitioning,
the tie to Leah Thompson was just like, is this fair to lock? You know what I'm saying? So is it fair to have her compete against female? Is it fair to lock this person up, this transgender inmate up with female inmates, you know what I'm saying, in like general population, because they possibly could be taking advantage of their physical dominance over the other inmates.
I see. I don't want to make no accusations that this wasn't consensual.
No, I'm not doing that either. I'm not doing that either. But I'm saying the possibility, you know what I'm saying, exists, because just everything in prison isn't necessarily, you know what I'm saying, reported like that. Like, that's what I'm just saying. So it's not like somebody could get stabbed and not tell the people who stabbed them. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it could. That's what I mean.
Well, so I think prison rape as a larger matter, I can see where you come from now. As a larger matter, it just happens. Like, sexual abuse in prison is just like, I guess, depending on the prison. I mean, if the show Oz has taught me anything, this is just something that happens and it's not really reported. And I would imagine, I don't know, I get the sense that if it is reported, it's not like, it's like, yeah, what do we supposed to, like, okay. You know what I'm saying? So if something like, now you're talking about, I'm not talking about this case, but let's say there's a case where there's sexual abuse in prison and somebody becomes pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine that, you know, that it's just a very different thing that they've never had to deal with. And we're not just talking about just the mere fact of, oh, well, this is a prison and someone was pregnant in prison and became pregnant in prison and has nothing to do with a prison guard. This is very different. But aside from that, there's also cost. Like, how do you care for a person like that? Right? Like, before, you only have to care for a woman who, when they walked into the prison, they were already pregnant. All right, we could care for that. All right, figure that out. But a woman is in jail. Let's say you were in jail for 5 years. You have been in jail for 5 years, and boom, you're pregnant as a woman. It's like, yo, what? Let's even take another possibility. If a man becomes pregnant, it's like the prison leaders have to be like, yo, what do we do? How do you legislate this type of thing?
Yeah. We don't even have the facilities for this. Yeah. It's, and we don't know. And I know, and you know what, Keith? It ain't on Perfect Talk to define and solve every situation that goes on, man. But we really, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I think as time goes on, we'll get more of an understanding and I guess more of an acceptance and more of a structure around this type of thing. But for now, it's kind of like it's figure it out as we go along.
Yeah.
Man, but that's another episode in the books, man. Keith, always a pleasure doing an episode with you, my brother. Where can my people find you at on social media?
Instagram, ema_35.
You can find your boy DJ Playboy at PLICCAPEEZY, PLICCAPEEZY on Instagram. Also, check out Perfect Talk podcast. We're on Instagram at Perfect Talk Radio. So make sure you check that out. Check out the website, www.perfecttalkpodcast.com. Got big announcements coming with the website within the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. Also, every episode of Perfect Talk Podcast is available on the website, in addition to my radio show, Money Talks Radio, and the Night Shift. Night Shift coming back too, so look for that. Also, every episode of Perfect Talk Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever you know your podcasts are found. So leave a rating, like it, review, check us out on YouTube. We got a channel up on there, so hit us up, subscribe. Yeah, and just, support the whole team, support what we're doing, and we're going to keep things rocking, keep things moving. Keith, usually I ask you, what are you watching on television nowadays? Have you checked out the HBO Max show about the Lakers? I think it's called Winning Time.
I'll be honest, I canceled my HBO Max. I can't remember what I was watching. I was like, all right, every now and then I have a check to myself, like, I check on myself and say, do I really need this? Whatever streaming thing it is. Mm-hmm. And usually it's HBO Max because it costs the most out of everything. I think Netflix is catching up to it in price. It's probably about the same now at this point. But so I saw the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
But
I was going to ask you something along the lines because I heard Jerry West was very upset about how he's being portrayed in there. And then I guess he when he signed off on it, it was based off of a book that was written, but none of that portrayal of him is in that book, so he doesn't quite understand why he's being represented like that. And but I guess the bigger question, because you brought something up just now, is do you ever find it difficult to let go of some of your streaming services? Like emotionally, like I feel like
I do.
It's weird, right? It's like I feel like when they got us to cord cut, for some reason, it's still like an emotional time. Like I'm ready to get rid of YouTube because Gary, had put me on to YouTube TV. Sorry, because Gary had put me on to a different service. That's gonna save me money, so I'm gonna go with that. But even so, there's certain features that aren't gonna be there, and I'm just like, I've gotten so used to this. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be, but I'm like, I gotta, you gotta do it for the money. Like if you could save money, So it's like, but I really do find myself emotionally holding on to these services. Like, damn, am I gonna I don't watch Netflix, but my daughter watches the hell out of it. So even I was ready to give up Netflix, and I had to remind myself that she uses it. And then it was like, all right, damn. But nah, I'm glad you because I found that with myself. I was like, is this just me? Have they figured out a way to like emotionally tie themselves to our like, you know what I'm saying, like our mental?
Yeah, man. yeah, it could get to, especially with a family. It's like, yeah, I'm about to cut this shit off, and then somebody be like, "Wait, I'm watching Bridgerton." And I'm like, "Oh, come on now." So, but as far as the Jerry West joint, I can see how he hates it because I feel as if I wonder who wrote that show. It feels like a Def Jam comedian wrote the show, and the reason I say that is because all the white characters seem like cartoon, like these cartoonish, like weirdos.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of Def Jam, like early '90s jokes, where they have a white guy, hey, nigger, like that type of thing. You know how they did the jokes,
it's
like,
over the top. Yeah, they got the stereotypical
hey,
voice. They behave a certain type of way. They got an air of racism to them.
So it felt like that, and it's not quite like stereotypically like that type of whiteness. It's more so like a lot of guys who they're really successful, but beneath their success, they're fairly mediocre or weird. So like Jerry West, you see how successful he is. The Lakers as an executive at the Lakers. I think the Warriors,
Clippers,
the Clippers now. And at some point he stopped through the Memphis.
I believe so for a little bit. Yeah.
All those was good teams, either huge rebuilds or whatever. So you see all that success. The show makes him this really bitter, like he worked hard for years, is one of the best players in the league, and he only has like one. I think he only has like one championship as a player, and then the whole Magic thing, like, just made him like this bitter guy, like. So I could see how he would be upset at the whole. But I think that the show was made like half comedy. Like if you were to look at it, you would see
a bit, right? Like a little bit, yeah.
Very satirical, like SNL type satire.
And I think Jerry just doesn't get that. I haven't seen the show myself, so I'm not gonna judge for him. But he's got like former players to like lobby for him. He wants it to be like retracted. Like he's like, yo, remove. I'm like, they made a whole show. What are you gonna do? Take the whole show down? I don't know how much of a role he has in it, but I'm like, yeah. And I think I don't even know. Like, if you're part of a real life story, someone signed off on it, right? Someone approved. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you might just have to eat that one, Jerry. But what are you watching nowadays, Keith?
Right now, I'm watching the NBA playoffs.
Yes, sir.
I was watching the first round of the NBA playoffs. What else popped up on television?
Brooklyn might get swept. That's crazy.
Yeah, man, 3-0. That's it's dark. I think all I was never when the Nets came to Brooklyn, I had already moved out of Brooklyn, so I never had an attachment to the Nets. So like sometimes I find myself cheering against them. It feels weird.
A lot of a lot of people in New York cheer against them. Like, they're not the New York. Like, people in Brooklyn cheer for the Knicks, I think, more than the Nets.
Yes, it's a weird feeling because, if you're of a certain age, you think of them as Jersey. I find that a lot of my friends that are like around my age that cheer for Brooklyn still live in Brooklyn, so they have that connection with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see the merchandise around the town and all that type of stuff, or you might even walk by it or pass it on your train stop if on your way to work or something. But I didn't have that connection. I only see them on TV. So and then with all the Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant stuff, it's just
it was too messy of a players coming through there. Yeah. But what you watching?
I watched a show called Severance. That was dope. That just finished. I'm watching a lot of shit. Most of the playoffs now, man. If I was to make any recommendations, the playoffs. Really exciting. Really exciting to see some young players doing it. John Morant's killing, although they lost. They lost the last games, 2-2 Minnesota and Memphis. Yeah, man. Playoffs is exciting, man. I'm having a good time watching it.
No, it's good, man. Like I said, man, always a pleasure to catch up with you and do an episode, man. And stay blessed out there, brother. Everybody, hold your head. Stay safe. Show some love. Shout out to everybody, the victims of the shooting in Brooklyn. Because I said it last episode. I did an episode with Niche. And I said, like, that shooting's going to happen. And then, life's going to go on. People just move on to the next thing. So, luckily they did catch the guy I think the next day, if I'm not mistaken, or shortly after. But we forget about the victims. People got shot like on a train. Like that's just traumatic, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember being a kid. Like that was one of the more traumatic things. Like either like an earthquake could happen and you're trapped on the ground, or somebody could come in there just buck wilding. Because there was someone who shot up a train when we were kids. So you know what I mean. So thoughts and prayers are with the victims of that. Luckily nobody passed away. There was actually like 2 other mass shootings that weekend, and I think nobody or very minimal deaths, if any. So but getting shot is whack. So I think we forget that, and our thoughts and prayers are still with the victims. So you know what I mean. Hold your head. And we up out here. Keep say goodbye to the people, man.
Peace.
Peace.